Welcome to On the Firing Line on the information station, AM 1440 KUHL. Information, education, news, and politics of firearms and ammunition is found here. If you have any questions, call us at 1-888-625-1440. That's 1-888-625-1440.
Jonathan Hay was asleep at his home in Henderson, North Carolina, when he was awakened to a knock at his door. Haith initially ignored the knock, but when it was followed by a loud bang, he retrieved an AR-15 rifle and went to investigate. As Haith moved through his hallway, he spotted an intruder with a gun, armed with a gun. The intruder fired at Haith, who responded by shooting the criminal in the stomach. The home invader fled the home but collapsed nearby. Police captured the wounded intruder along with an accomplice that was acting as the getaway driver. This out of WRAL, Raleigh, North Carolina, May 11th, 2014. You are on the firing line with Matt, Joe, and Kanani. Be a part of today's show by giving us a call at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, 928-1440.
You know, I like that one. It's short, but one thing that I really liked about it is that's one of our favorite weapons. And here we see it.
Defending somebody,
And that's the key word, as a defensive weapon.
Defensive tool,
instead of an assault weapon like California and other states like to call it.
Yeah, and it's all about words, as we know.
Yeah.
So if we started calling the AR-15 defensive rifle, maybe that would sound better.
Reprogram. Brainwash.
That's a great idea.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I like it. First person that calls up and says, AR defensive rifle. Well, they can come down to Tactical Guns and Gear and get themselves a free pepper spray.
Free high five. Along with a pepper spray.
I'll buy the pepper spray, yeah.
All
That'd
right.
be perfect. But you got to call quickly.
Right, Schnauzerhausen. All right, so that is a good one. You know, we hear time and time again how evil and bad and murderous these black rifles are. You know, and here we have it. We've talked about it a lot too. How they don't recoil a lot. It's effective. It's not a real overdoing it cartridge. It's a good home defense gun. You know, yes, there's pros and cons to it, just like there is every other gun. You know, but it is nice to see it not get smashed down in the news here. And they don't glorify it really either. They just say what tool they use.
It's news. It's reporting what happened.
Exactly.
Which is what news is supposed to be. Hello.
Imagine that.
It didn't get a free pass, but it was mentioned, in a positive way.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
How about you, Kanani? Do you keep an AR for home defense?
Yeah, I do, and I love it because it's actually really easy to handle, and it's the perfect weapon. Not like I'm kind of a wuss and don't have bigger rifles, but the AR-15 is super easy to use.
Yes,
even for women.
I like it.
There
you go. From a woman. Easier for women.
Yeah. And it's the truth of the fact. It doesn't have a whole lot of recoil.
Yeah.
And it's a very, effective round.
It's easier than my shotgun.
It's easier to aim a rifle than a handgun.
Yeah.
Boom. Dynamite.
I like the AR pistol. That's a great weapon for home defense because it's shorter. But yet you still have the same capability as the rifle for the most part, especially in that short confined space.
Yeah, exactly. When you're talking about a hallway, you don't really need 16-inch, 20-inch barrel to get that thing moving.
Right, and nowadays with the arm brace that they sell, that can also be shouldered because the ATF has determined that it is okay to shoulder that.
There's no wrong way to hold a pistol.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that really makes that weapon a perfect improvement of what we have available to us in California.
Yep.
It's hard to get those kind of weapons in California, but you can find a dealer out there that will help you out.
And generally, throughout the country, it's kind of tough to get, like SBRs is what we're talking about, short-barreled rifles. You got to do the $200 tax stamp, which, isn't crazy amounts of money, but it's still from the National Firearms Act, which I disagree with. So we're paying for something we should have.
Right.
And then you're going to submit for the stamp, and it's going to probably take about a year. So from what I've heard, it's pretty backloaded for short-barreled rifles and suppressors, I guess.
And this way, you don't have a rifle, you have a pistol, you've got an arm brace that can be shouldered in dire instances.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're just
All
going to
would
get
be.
more accuracy out of it, and why not get more accuracy? It's a tool. You know?
Yep. Another thing we want to mention too is those of you out there who do have a weapon and want to use it for home protection, consider the fact that you have a responsibility to practice with that weapon.
Yeah.
And it's no different than a pistol, a handgun, shall I say. You must practice. You must maintain a certain proficiency. That's something we stressed a lot at our women's class.
Yeah, practice. I mean, it's just if you were your plan to defend your house was you're a karate expert and you're going to kick the what out of somebody.
I am the karate expert in my house. Yes, I will kick the.
Well, this is true. But if you just went out and bought yourself a black belt and didn't ever practice, good luck when that door gets kicked in. You know, I mean,
don't go out and just buy yourself a black belt and call yourself a black belt, please.
Yeah, just my point is the training has to be there, no matter what it is.
Right, and it shows in this case with this story because the intruder was shot in the stomach, which is point blank. Maybe not point blank, but
It's a well-placed shot.
Exactly, well placed.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for collateral damage because it went beside him, went out the front door and hit somebody in the neighbor's house or something like that. So like I said before, it takes a lot of responsibility to have a firearm. And past the responsibility of practice, there was something that we talked about at the women's class that was brought up. If you have a firearm, are you willing to go to that level, that step?
Or are you willing to go through the entire situation all the way to stopping the intruder?
Yes.
And what that means.
Stopping another human
Yeah.
being it's a large thing you have to figure out. Everybody has to figure out for themselves. I
Yeah,
imagine.
it's not just training with it and knowing I could do this and I could shoot somebody if it came to that, but what happens after you shoot them? Like the world just doesn't go blank and
And that's another thing is if you're going to shoot somebody, before you use a gun for self-protection, make sure you have it in your mindset that you can, because if you can't, there's a good chance that
That you
weapon is
won't,
not going to
yeah.
work for you, or it could be taken away and used against you.
Yep. And that exactly, but training will back that up. You'll be way more confident that you can do the simple little task
Yeah.
that is not going to seem so simple when you're going at 200 miles an hour.
well, it's an
Absolutely.
emergency. It's not something that happens every single day, but if you can get
Yeah.
your body to respond in the way you want it to when you're mentally
those
freaking
adrenaline,
out,
yeah.
then your body's just going to do what you've trained it to do. It's
Muscle
going to
memory.
respond appropriately.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. All right, well, today we're going to be talking about CCW. We have a few articles lined up. The first one is going to be about women in CCWs. This was Archon area woman buying guns and obtaining concealed weapons permit. From there, we have an update, or actually, no, we have another article that's titled Mall Shooting Completely Debunks Gun Grabbers Myths About Lawful Carry. That's an interesting article because it's going to show us how we're told all the time we're put in the brainwash situation that guns used in the public or carried by public people are going to lead to bad situations, and nobody would really ever be able to draw a pistol and protect themselves. And we're going to see in that article that yes, they can, and in fact they did, and without collateral damage. Again, just like the home invasions picture that we had here. Also, we have an update that actually came out on the 14th from the Ninth Circuit Court. This is regarding the concealed weapons permit. I think everybody should be up to date on this, and as the information comes in, we'll always try to bring more of that for you as well. So stay tuned to the show, no matter what commercial break or how many come up, to get that information, because that's going to be important.
Yeah,
Also,
give us a call too at 1-888-625-1440 or 928-1440 and talk about it. If you have any questions for the CCW stuff or any comments, stories, we'd like to hear them today while we talk about it.
Yep. And then, of course, our final article today, if we do have time, is going to be responsibilities of a concealed carry holder. Because just because you have a firearm doesn't mean you can go out and be a cowboy. There are only certain... Yippee-ki-yay.
Myth busted, man.
There are only... throw some truth darts out there for us. There are only certain times and areas that you can carry your gun or even intercede to protect yourself or another. And it's important that you understand these things, as well as what we've been talking about here earlier in the first thing. Practice, 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 practice.
It all supports it. Everything you do supports the next thing you do.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, too, we have law enforcement, which is a responder of situations for us. And, we have a civilized society, and we need that as part of it. But we need to partner ourselves with them in being able to handle these things responsibly. The first part of the responsibility, though, is that we take the responsibility of protecting ourselves at the moment and doing it in a manner which I don't know
Most
how
appropriate.
is
Mo-
most
yeah.
appropriate. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, appropriately and proactively. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, that's because even the best cop who can get there the quickest as possible is still reaction. You know,
Right.
I mean, nothing's gonna.
And a lot of stuff can happen in those few minutes while you're
A
waiting.
lot of stuff does happen in
Yeah.
those few minutes. Exactly.
Very interesting. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go ahead and hit Akron area woman buying guns and obtaining concealed carry permits. We'll be right back with you on the firing line.
We'll be back to more of On the Firing Line with Joe and Jim after this.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We'll be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building an AR-15, they have lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies and stuff.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes and have trained thousands of local
The
ladies.
store is located off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit. Look for the big rifle sign on the freeway as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck, and they're now open on Mondays. America!
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
Now, a great word from Santa Maria Motorcycles, formerly Santa Maria Harley-Davidson, located at 2022 Presker Lane. They are dealers for Honda, Kawasaki, and Harley-Davidson. Grab your family and go see the museum, filled with exciting older bikes that you won't see anywhere else on the Central Coast. As well, they are the #1 motorcycle dealer on the Central Coast with the largest inventory around. Go in and see Martin Buchanan, or you can give him a call at 805-928-3668. You can also go visit them every first Thursday of the month for Bike Night. Starts at 6 p.m. Have a great time with your family at Santa Maria Motorcycles.
We're happy to have a special guest here today at the Plumbing Talk Studios, Jeremy Griffin, owner of Griffin Plumbing in Orcutt. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Jeremy, the reason your plumbing company is called Griffin Plumbing is that your last name is, in fact, Griffin.
Yeah, that's right.
Unbelievable. Griffin, just like the legendary creature with the body of a lion and the wings of an eagle.
Yeah.
What a brilliant move, Jeremy.
I'm a genius.
To name your plumbing company after this majestic creature. A creature known not only to have divine power, but also to be a protector from all things evil.
Well, it is my last name.
Audience, listen carefully. If your plumbing devices are threatened in any way, I implore you to seek the power and protection of the Griffin.
We're always here to help. Just give us a call.
Call the Griffin.
Find us at callgriffinplumbing.com or call 934-1949.
You are on the firing line with Matt, Jim, and Joe today.
Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440. Or if you're in the Santa Maria area, give us a call at 928-1440.
And of course, don't forget to check us out on Facebook on the Firing Line with Matt and Joe.
That's right. You are back on the Firing Line with Matt, Joe, and Kanani. Give us a jingle, 1-888-625-1440 or 928-1440 if you're in the Santa Maria area.
That's only if.
And when.
No, actually, anybody can call in any number they want. Just make sure you call in. You know, I called in, 2 weeks ago when you two were doing the show. Yes, I was Billy.
Billy.
But I had a problem with the phone. I had to call 3 times before I could get through it and break past the answering thing. So if you get that, please don't give up. Keep trying to call. I found it easier to call in on the Santa Maria number, so keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, the 928.
It's just like trying to get a hold.
Yep.
Yep.
You'll get it.
So
Calling the 800 number.
928-1440. Give us a call. Hit us up on Facebook.
All right, this first article, as I stated before, was Akron area woman buying guns, obtaining concealed carry permits. This is kind of an interesting story because to me, it gives a little bit of insight of what some people would want to get a concealed weapons for. And it actually states it right in the beginning. This is by Jim Carney. You can find this online. As a matter of fact, if you do find it online, you'll find a phone number where you can actually call him and talk to him, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and Carney's he's cool about this. We've done a few of his articles. He has. I don't know. He's up to date. We'll say.
Right. I'd like to call him and actually see if we can get him on the show with us. I think that'd be
cool.
Where is he from?
You know what? That I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'd have to go and look that up. Google, anybody? Google.
Well, have to see where the Carneys are from.
All right. So here's the first part of this article. It was the middle of the night, and the security alarm went off in Linda Lansdorf's home. It scared her to death. The 64-year-old retired English teacher and mystery novelist recalled. Her husband was out of town, and she was alone. It turned out to be a false alarm, but it led to action. And, that's where a lot of it starts. And it's good to see that we get information out there to people like this so that they can go out and do something.
Yeah.
It starts here. She started realizing that if it had been the real thing, what would she have done? I mean, can you imagine being in your house? You've got somebody breaking in your front door, and you have no idea of what am I supposed to do to protect myself?
Right, and especially...
She didn't seem like this. She had an emergency plan ready to go.
Yeah, and a lot of people have these alarms, expensive burglar
like
alarms.
dogs,
or ADT, something like that. And it's just, they kind of think, well, if somebody comes in, breaks into my house, this alarm's going to scare them away.
Right.
Well, the alarm, I don't think scares anybody away. I think it just sort of deters people who are kind of on that edge. But if they're committed, yeah.
Well, and a true criminal knows, hey, look, alarm went on. I've got 2-3 minutes. Yep. Let me get done what I've got to do and get the heck out of here.
That's true. That's scary stuff. So, got to prepare like this lady's getting ready
Unbelievable. To do. Well, actually, in 2009, Lonsdorf took a concealed carry class from her neighbor, a retired Akron police captain, Jim Yoakum. All right. And she says that she's the last person you would ever dream of to take the course.
I always wonder why people say that. Like, I'm the last person who would take a course. I'm the last person that you would find doing such and such.
We hear that all the time with classes and buying firearms. And, I'd be the last person to buy extra magazines.
I think that it's normally in their circle. She's probably the one that always says, hey, look, guns, look. Why would anybody want a gun? Yuck. I can't stand people with guns.
She's got the wrong friends.
But then she turns around, and out of that circle, she comes to the reasoning and the reality of the situation.
Comes to the light.
Right. That, hey, what do I do? Do I grab some rocks out of the backyard to throw at this guy? Do I grab my son's baseball bat out of his room? Yeah. Or do I grab a kitchen knife? And even then, what do I do? That's the whole thing.
There has to be some amount of planning.
And I think that's the whole thing we were talking about with the Women's 101 class, is that there is thinking through the entire process from the start of an emergency all the way through the closure of the emergency.
Well, and that's absolutely right. Having a gun and waiting for the moment to happen, even though you've practiced with it, is not the correct way to do it. Mm-hmm. You need to look through your house and work through many times before something ever happens so that you have a better understanding of how you can react to it.
Yeah, you'll just be able to go through it that much easier if you've done it before.
And it's
or
no
at
different.
Least simulated doing it.
Yeah, and it's no different from any other kind of emergency. Like if somebody were to have a heart attack or somebody were to, fall down the stairs and break a hip.
Seconds count.
Yeah.
It's like... with my wife when she was pregnant, we had the plans all set up. There was a bag ready, with clothes. There was phone numbers of who to call, and what do we do with the other child when it's time to get the heck on the road and get up there to the hospital?
Yeah, plan of action.
Right, and we worked through it a few times before it actually happened. Of course, it never really comes down the way you want it to.
But you're prepared for it, and you're ready to deal with whatever needs to happen.
Contingencies.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's go on with this. Let's see. Lonsdorf is an example of an increasing number of Ohio women who are taking classes and getting permits, say area CCW instructors, and she is part of the growing legion of men and women who have obtained CCWs. Now, that's another thing that's important here for us to think about. In the state of California alone, we see the waiting list growing in many departments.
That's true.
Who are actually accepting people to get on the waiting list. We also hear of many people who are waiting for departments to open up the CCWs, who want those CCWs. And it's not just one political side.
Right.
As we've said before, firearms can transcend all political lines.
Yeah, can and do generally.
Well, self-defense isn't just a conservative idea.
Exactly. I mean, everybody has the right to self-defense, and nobody wants to get pummeled.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. It seems basic enough, but I guess it's not.
Here, son, hit me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, God. Bill Holland, spokesman for the Summit County Sheriff's Office, said county numbers aren't meaningful because a person can obtain a permit in a neighboring county. County sheriffs issue the permits. It's kind of the same thing we have here in California, where our county sheriffs are, how do I say, I don't know, a shadow person of the state of California. It's like as if they're working on behalf of the state of California instead of just their county, because the permits are extended out past their county.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right,
Yeah.
so we have the same sort of setup here. Although here, I'm sure it's a lot harder to get a CCW from one county to the next, or easier from one county to the next, depending on where you live and what the mindset of your local law enforcement is.
Man, just talking about this is making me boil about Santa Barbara County. I mean, just the fact that there's 53 or something, 53 CCW holders that, are not whatever law enforcement that don't put. That's amazing to me. I mean, it's a large county. There's multiple cities. There's lots of, Santa Maria, violent city. Hello. I mean, if they're going to be able to name it that,
Number 10.
maybe the sheriff should pony up and do the smart thing.
It's kind of hard in Santa Maria because you have the police chief, who is not an elected official.
That's
he's
a
hired,
totally,
Yeah.
and he's
totally good
hired
point.
by who?
Yeah.
The city manager, right?
I believe so, yeah.
All right. And so, with that being said, he's the one being dictated by the city council along with the city manager
Yes.
on the best ways to go about and what kind of policies he should set and enforce. Then you have the local sheriff who's elected as a representative of the people in his county.
Yeah.
Now,
That makes sense.
most sheriffs are not going to want to step on the toes of a city who's incorporated and have this kind of stuff, but are willing in the unincorporated areas to go ahead and make the decisions, as it is their job in the state of California, to say, hey, look, this person can have a firearm or this person can't. And again, we fall back on, different sheriffs have different mentalities of why people should or shouldn't have concealed weapons permits. For instance, we had Sheriff Brown on before on this show, and one of his things was he didn't believe that enough people had the proper know-how or training, and he didn't want them to have that responsibility because it felt like a liability to him.
But it's interesting, though, in order to get a CCW, don't you have to go through an actual class
Right.
Correct.
to do that? So you're getting that training and receiving information in
Right.
order to make those good decisions with
That's
your
why
weapon.
I feel it's kind of like a scapegoat comment, because it's kind of chicken to say that, well, the citizens of the county that I work at, they don't have the competency to train and learn this
You're
stuff.
absolutely right. But here's what he said when we kind of approached him with that same thing. He said, well, let me tell you a story. He used to be a police officer down in one of the Los Angeles areas, and he was driving by a shop where there was a security guard. And the security guard had a hog leg on his side, kind of like cowboy action gun.
Yeah,
Who
big
knows?
old gun on his
Security
side,
guards are supposed to get permits to carry weapons, right?
Absolutely.
They should have some sort of training,
Some
right?
sort of guard card.
Well, on his way back from the grocery store, again, he saw the security guard, but this time the security guard was chasing somebody else who had his firearm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and okay, I get that.
The person turned and went to fire the gun at the security guard,
And it
but
wasn't
because it was
loaded.
a hog leg, single action type cowboy gun,
Nothing
which
happened.
why would a person ever carry one of those as security anyways? But the guy didn't realize he had to cock the gun to fire it.
Right.
So
thankfully it didn't discharge.
right,
No
and
gunfight.
I don't remember if he intervened or what exactly, or if he had to call somebody to come back up and intervene. But he used that as one of his examples.
So
Now,
one person represents the entire whole of those who want to have a CCW?
good point. Now, this brings to the point too is from what Matt said and what you've said, we really have to take into consideration. We have to look at what our sheriff has done for us, what he could do for us.
Yeah.
What is his policies on the CCW? Is that what we're going to base the only reason that we would vote for him on? And wonder, is that the person that's best for the office? I know now that in Santa Barbara, I think Sheriff Brown he has somebody who's running against him. Actually, a sheriff's deputy.
Yeah, Sergeant Sandra Brown.
Right. And, here's somebody that could change the process. But how do we know? We have to wait for that person to get elected and see if that person will make the changes in the department to open that up. But I'm sure that she's not going to run on that one basis of weapons.
Sole premise of, yeah.
There's a whole lot of other stuff going on in our county that needs to be dealt with by our sheriff as well.
Absolutely.
So these are things that we will all have to go out and take a look at independently and decide who we want to vote for.
Yeah, it's not as easy as a blanket, you know. It's not. I don't think it's just night and day. Exactly like you're saying. People have to go out and kind of do your own research and don't just look at the election commercials where they're slandering each other, or, you know, not that they are, but you know they have the potential to. Read a little bit about them, see what they've done for the county. You know, check what they've done for the places they've worked at, not just the places they've worked at.
Right, but I will give one warning to both of these people, Sheriff Brown and Sergeant Brown as well. While there is a bigger picture and there's much to do and much to say about everything else, there have been cases where CCW could be the one thing that does get you elected.
Yeah,
you know, your pro or cons. I mean, look at San Luis Obispo, in an area that's somewhat conservative but more liberal because of the college and everything else. Ian Parkinson,
yeah.
He got it because he was so open to accept and go after the fact that there were so many people that wanted CCWs. I think that was a large part of the discussion that they had, along with other things. So, I mean, these are things to think about. I mean...
Right, well, it's never one deciding factor. Right. There's always a couple large ones that are a majority of it. But so that's just, you're right. It's definitely something to think about.
Right, and I think with today's times and seeing in so many states and seeing the Supreme Court and everything else, that CCW is one of the things at the forefront right now, that it is a great line to stand upon. Yes, you're going to be attacked, and you know what? I know it's hard to play the game to get into politics.
Come at me, bro.
Right, and there are drills for that. You can go on YouTube and look at the "Come at me, bro" drill. I mean,
this is true. This is true.
All right, so enough said about that. Let's get back to the CCW, and actually, let's move on to the next thing. I think that kind of made a few good points about CCW, and if we move on to it, we actually get into, let's see here,
pink guns.
Is it?
Pink guns.
Pink guns.
Paint guns.
Paint guns.
Paint guns. Where do you see that?
We're painting guns pink.
No, we're not painting guns pink, but you can have your gun painted pink if you head down to Tactical Guns and Gear, one of our strong supporters here in Santa Maria. Just let Brian know it's very cute, and I'm sure he'll work with you.
I bet you it's not nearly as threatening as a scary black gun.
Ooh, that's a good point. If I have
I'm
like
sorry.
a pink AR, can I cruise around?
I'm sorry. That's threatening to me. That's very intimidating.
Yeah, somebody who has a pink AR has clearly nothing to lose.
Oh, wow.
Do you imagine the bad guy that came into that house and goes, "You would not believe I just got shot by a girl with a pink gun."
Oh, man.
Way more shame than a black one.
Telling that story in prison is just a bummer.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah,
oh, my gosh.
That is our session on pink guns. Don't do it.
All right, we should probably take one more break. Come back. We'll talk about mall shooting completely debunks gun grabber myths about lawful carry.
Yay.
And we'll be right back with you on the fire line. And don't forget, when we do come back after this article, we do want to talk about the update from the Ninth Circuit Court District regarding our rights with CCWs.
You're listening to On the Firing Line on the Information Station.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We'll be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building an AR-15, they have lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies and stuff.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes and have trained thousands of local ladies.
The store is located off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit. Look for the big rifle sign on the freeway as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck, and they're now open on Mondays. America!
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352. Serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
On the air with the Midnight Mystic is one of our regular callers, truck driver Charlie.
Well, I just seen another one, Midnight Mystic.
Another Griffin, Charlie?
I'm telling you, they're all over the Central Coast now.
How long have you been on the road now, Charlie?
2, 5, 8 weeks, I don't know.
Perhaps you should park the truck and get some sleep, and maybe the Griffins will disappear.
Well, there it is again. I'm going after it.
What does it look like, Charlie?
Holy mackerel. It's got the body of a lion and the head of an eagle.
Is it flying, Charlie?
It's on the side of a white truck.
Is it a Griffin plumbing truck, Charlie?
Could be. I don't know. I'm pulling right up to it.
We seem to have lost contact with Charlie, but I'm sure he'll be okay because Griffins, just like the good folks at Griffin Plumbing, are here to protect and serve. In fact, if your plumbing devices are threatened in any way,
call the Griffin.
Find us at callgriffinplumbing.com or call 934-1949.
You are on the firing line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440.
That's right, you heard it from the man. 1-888-625-1440 or Santa Maria 928-1440. Light up that board, give us a call. Don't be scared, be worried.
That board has been lighting up the whole time, but it hasn't been any phone calls.
Oh, that is true. I guess I should be more
I don't know what's going on here. No.
Yeah. Call the Santa Maria number, 928-1440. Thank you.
All right, next article.
Yeah.
Mall shooting completely debunks gun grabber myth
busted
about lawful carry. One of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is because of we see like the movie theater where it was a gun-free zone, no guns allowed on people.
Yep.
We see colleges where guns are not allowed, but yet, had there been a firearm, I think that lives could have been saved. Sure, there's going to be some damage that's going to happen to even possibly the shooter, but that shooter can minimize the amount of people shot from somebody who can just go on a rampage without any opposition.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And how many times do you hear of the news stories where there is a shooter and then someone with a weapon stops it before the police can get there?
Yeah. I mean, it's like we've talked about, once that resistance is there, if somebody's just thinking they're going on a free-for-all, as soon as there's resistance, a lot of times they give up, get shot, shoot themselves. I mean, it ends quickly usually.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When it stops being easy.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Unbelievable.
All right, so let's talk about it.
On Saturday, May 10th, a shooting occurred at a Central Mall parking lot in Fort Smith, Arkansas. 34-year-old Fadi Kandil, a Jordan native, was mortally wounded at approximately 7:41 p.m. Kandil, the perpetrator, was allegedly estranged from his wife, Tabitha, who was going to a movie with 20-year-old Grayson Herrera and 27-year-old Dustin O'Connor. Both Herrera and O'Connor are licensed to carry a concealed weapon in Arkansas, and both were lawfully carrying at the time of the incident. Statements from multiple witnesses confirm that Kandil told them he had a gun, raised his shirt to display it in his waistband, and then began to reach for it. Herrera and O'Connor both drew their weapons, and a brief exchange of gunfire ensued. Herrera was struck by the perpetrator's initial shot, but Kandil was struck multiple times and was pronounced dead on arrival by responding emergency personnel. Herrera was then transported to the hospital for his gunshot wound and was released later as his wound, fortunately, proven to be non-life-threatening.
Wow.
What makes this story uniquely interesting, though, are a few factors. First, during the exchange of several shots of gunfire, no bystanders or vehicles were hit in a very crowded mall parking lot. That's something that many well-trained police officers even have a difficulty in accomplishing.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't really liken any situation to what the police officer has to go through because we're not in their shoes and we don't want to denigrate our police officers.
Right, and really we can't liken any situation to the next because one little thing changes on these and
Absolutely.
the whole dynamics of 180,
And all the individuals involved are always unique.
Yeah,
I mean, they
exactly.
don't always have the same experience or the same training or the same mindset, so.
Yeah.
Very good point.
It's always changing.
Okay, that's something that many well-trained police officers even have difficulty in accomplishing, is what we said before. Second, this is an event that national mainstream media has once again ignored. A shooting at a mall is definitely newsworthy. This begs to question, why? Quite simply, it just doesn't fit their agenda. The good guys won and the bad guys lost. Obviously, this incident completely destroys several anti-gun groups' myths about lawful carry. Gun grabbers say the ordinary citizens are not trained well enough to avoid collateral damage in high-stress shooting. Busted.
Myth busted.
Yep.
Truth dart in your eye.
Right. Gun grabbers also say that it is best to wait for qualified law enforcement personnel. Busted. Candile was actively pulling his gun. They had half a second to act, or all three would have most certainly been killed.
Yeah, that's what when you were just reading that, the first thing I thought of. Because if the guy said, "Hey, I have a gun," pulls up his shirt, to display the gun, and now he starts going for it. He draws. Basically, he's getting the jump on these people. He starts drawing before them.
Exactly.
But they usually do, right? I mean, they're the ones that are prepared to make the attack. They're the ones who are going to do the go.
That's true. But if once somebody else starts, it's usually really hard to skin the smoke wagon and get it up and going before the other person can. So I think that was pretty good that they were able to do that.
Well, and you said that normally they are, people get shot and they only have to have a second to react. The guy already shot the one,
the perpetrator
the lawful
hit
carrier.
one of them, yeah. And there was two of them, yeah, that's a good point. So whoever got their gun up first, both of them got shot.
Yeah.
Just the perpetrator received the lethal dose.
But you know, this guy, once he had lost his mind and shot these three people, who's to say he wouldn't have started walking around shooting other people?
Shooting everybody else, yeah.
Yeah, he's already in a mall.
I mean, this is the kind of mentality that sparks off things all the time. Well, let me rephrase that. It does not spark off everything all the time, because these incidents only happen, out of the millions of people in America, but once every so often.
Yeah.
It's the media that likes to make us think that it happens all the time.
I think they're trying to make it that this is a very common reaction to someone carrying a gun. Not that it necessarily happens every day, but that somebody who's going through any kind of situation is going to lose it and start shooting people.
Like, see, this is what happens
exactly.
right here. This is it. Yeah.
But they didn't nationally publicize this one because the bad guy went down.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It worked out well, so it wasn't great news. It was only news. All
right, next.
Next.
Gun grabbers say that citizens can't possibly understand shoot, don't shoot situations well enough to stay out of jail.
Really?
Busted.
Yeah.
Police have not filed charges and are not expected to file charges, as this was clearly a case of well-executed self-defense.
Bam.
And finally, gun grabbers say that wanting to carry a gun is just being paranoid. Busted.
Truth dart to the face.
Herrera and O'Connor were concerned about self-protection and preservation for themselves and the innocent. They were clearly not just being paranoid. Lawful carrying of a firearm decreases crime, plain and simple. The FBI statistics confirm that. If more Americans would begin lawfully carrying on a regular basis, criminals would most certainly think twice when deciding to commit violent acts.
Yeah.
I carry a firearm everywhere I go, and have done so for the last 18 years, since the age of 21. At that time, I've never had to use my weapon, and I pray that I never do. But if the need were to arise, I choose not to become a victim. I hope all of you choose survival as well.
Yeah, and that's, again, common plain sense. That you want to survive, and if somebody, like Colt said, it's the equalizer. If somebody else is bringing one to knock you down, if you have it, nobody is better than the next.
And even if they're not,
unless your training's better.
And even if they're not coming to attack you, you have the option if other people around you are.
There's all kinds. Exactly. I mean, there's so many scenarios. For sure.
Yep.
All right, so looks like there's an update from the Ninth Circuit Court ruling here. What do we got going?
All right. As we know before, basically, we were waiting for the courts to make a decision on the request to have Kamala Harris and also the request for the Brady campaign to intervene. The courts had turned around and said, no, you don't have a case, or you don't have the ability to intervene at this time. So we're throwing this back at the sheriff of, Peruta?
Yeah,
in San Diego,
in
yeah.
San Diego there, to see if he has anything else he wants to raise or say about this before we end this and make our final decision on this. Well, he has come back and he has wrote that he is asking the courts to allow Sandra from the DOJ to come in and intervene on his behalf. So while she was not able to ask on her own behalf, he's asking for her to be able to intervene on their behalf. And he has not allowed any CCWs to come out yet until the final ruling is set. So he's still holding off CCWs, not giving any out. It's unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I have it written right here. The court has requested the position of appellee William Gore on the pending motions to intervene, and in response to the suggestion that this case is moot, appellee responds as follows: motions to intervene. Appellee believes that the Attorney General is the appropriate intervener in this case because the panel opinions finds California legislative scheme regarding the carrying of handguns unconstitutional. Appellee requests that the court grant the Attorney General's motion to intervene. Appellee takes no position on other interveners. In other words, Brady campaign, you're out the door.
Yeah.
Mootness. This case is not moot. Appellee has not changed his policy on procedures for the issuance of concealed carry licenses. All current applications that do not meet the existing policy are being held without action pending final direction from the court or the legislator. That's
he can't. I'm sorry. He can't. They can't do that.
Don't do it.
Yeah, because the Attorney General cannot. So he's the one who brought the case. He's the one who represented the case forward.
Yes.
This is not a. This was. There's no precedence right now. He's just all of a sudden saying, "Wait a minute, I've got an attorney. The Attorney General is now going to speak on my behalf, and it's moot. He can't. They can't." They weren't in the lawsuit, so you can't just. It's like me. It's like me going to court. And
he would literally have to hire her
up.
as a lawyer, and then she would have had to recuse herself from representing for the state, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's still mute. It's still they're just trying to end around kind of a thing.
Extend it out as far as they can.
But it won't happen.
The icy fingers of control.
Well, what happens then? This kind of thing is that the court will probably go, okay, we'll listen.
You know, they may not, though, dude.
They may, but I doubt it. I doubt it. They just may, but they won't rule on her.
They've already made this precedent standard, not just with this ruling, but with rulings, from Hawaii, rulings from another area here in California with the CCWs.
Yeah, Yolo County.
Right. So, and I think there was one other case that happened. I don't think there's any way that they're going to get them to reverse it. The only hope that they have, and it doesn't sound like this sheriff wants to take it any further,
like this.
Is to go for an 11-man panel or go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Well, he can't because it's California law. This is they're going. It's not unconstitutional law. It's California law that they're going against. Right?
No, they're stating that the good cause is unconstitutional.
Oh, okay. Then they could. But this is what I'm trying to explain is like this is like all of a sudden I got caught stealing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have an attorney.
Right.
Never had an attorney to defend myself, for instance. Then all of a sudden I'm in the middle of the case where I'm trying to say I'm going to now go because there's been an issuance on my case. Now I'm going to go, wait a minute. There's a lawyer right here in the courtroom. He's going to represent me now. Well, that ain't going to happen.
You got to say that.
You've got to.
Well, before the ruling, you have to say it. So
and you have to submit paperwork to request this.
No, they could just submit as a brief and everything else on your behalf, but they never acted on his behalf. And now there's already a ruling. And they're going, wait a minute, we don't want to talk now. We're going to have our lawyer talk.
Back it up.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
They may listen, but no brief, no nothing can be submitted. So I doubt it.
I think it's dead. I think it's dead where it stands, and we're going to see huge change in California. And with that change is going to come a lot of people out there with firearms, which brings us to our next point.
The responsibilities of being a CCW holder.
Exactly. Connie, you know what? You've been doing a class with students now. It's not. I don't know if it's so much as a class, but
we talked about Classic the Club.
Yes.
It's class.
Have you guys talked about any of this kind of stuff?
No, but I know that the ladies have all had questions about the options and what should we or shouldn't we do and how to get into a class and when is that going to really happen and just more curiosity. about what the situation is going to be.
Yeah.
Do you think that most of the girls in your club are going to want to get CCWs, kind of like in the first story that we saw?
Yeah, I would say for sure.
All right. What about Matt and me? And we've both seen lots of guys come into the store that want to get CCWs.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Some I wouldn't give any to, but no, I'm just kidding. There's plenty that I would.
Everyone deserves a chance.
Everybody has that fundamental right? Don't make me sheriff.
Don't do it. Don't get barred. But yeah, people come in all the time and they're talking just about the Ninth Circuit's thing. They think that since it got brought up with the appeals court that, hey, it's been appealed, we're good to go. Let's start putting guns in our waistband and walking around. I wish that was the case, but that's not what's happening here.
Right.
But yeah, I do definitely see the potential for a lot of people to be getting CCWs once that's all said and it's all good to go. Right now people are very excited, I'll just say, to get them, and I think getting a little bit ahead of themselves, unfortunately.
Well, we do have this.
Because I want one now.
All right, responsibilities of a concealed carry holder by Wheels. So you have your concealed carry permit. Now what? By having your permit, you are held to a higher code of conduct. Not only are you responsible for the protection of yourself and loved ones, but you are also responsible for others around you that come under attack in your presence. Remember, you are also responsible to other concealed carry holders for your conduct and misuse of your permit. Will give us all a bad name in the eyes of the public, which is very true.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we see with these articles you read all the time. One person, something bad or stupid happens to one person, and that, just like we talked about, that's what's going to happen every time now.
You know what's funny is they don't take the same perspective when something good happens.
No,
it's always the bad one.
Way too convenient to take the same perspective.
Well, good news is not as good as bad news.
Good news isn't as sensational as bad news. Bad news is like good gossip. Everybody wants to hear it and talk about it, but good news just kind of like, who wants to cheer for the winner? Whatever.
I see.
I wonder, why can't we start, get somebody with a lot of money, like Trump or something, and start a new news broadcast?
like the new Anchorman.
Well, even Fox is like news. All over the bad stuff too. Fox,
yeah, but
they're better.
It's wild that you guys are saying this because I was just reading an article. Because I'm still thinking and debating what I'm going to do next.
Was it an article in my personal newspaper?
No, was not.
He's going to hire us to be on his new broadcast, and we're going to be talking about the good things of firearms.
They were talking about having better news and not doing news about things that are negative. But just, you have to bring in the reports. But why make police reports and murder and that kind of stuff headline news? They weren't going to do that any longer. But and there is a news agency that does it right now on the net. I failed to remember who it is now, but it's really small. But they want to do a whole new...
The glass is half full instead of the glass is half empty.
Well, isn't it wild that you're watching sports and all the sports is about good things?
Yeah,
and then sometimes they throw in some, like we got the weird thing going on now with the gay football player, and everybody wants to talk about that. But for the most part, everything was good. Good stuff, good. The sports are usually a good thing. The winner is until they get the bad things. But for the most part, it's good. So they want it like sports, and they want it like good day news kind of a thing.
Okay. Yeah, I got to get my daily Justin Bieber intake, otherwise I can't handle it.
Well, that's what they were talking about.
I think that's the important news that we got to get down.
Well, what about CNN? CNN spent 4 weeks every day about that lost flight.
Oh my God, dude, it was terrible. I'm watching Fox. I'm getting my info, and you know how you get to a point where, okay, I've heard that for the last 2 hours.
Right.
So I'm going to switch to CNN and see what's up. Every single day, it was the same line. Minute after minute, it was like, oh, don't you guys have anything else?
Did you see their ratings drop?
Clearly no.
No.
They're bad enough already. It's, they're down with CNBC. And now it's even farther than CNBC. They've dropped even lower in the last month.
CNN may be a thing of the past in 20 years.
No, somebody will come across and...
we'll buy it.
It's too big.
Well, maybe they'll change.
Conglomerate.
Every airport you go into, it's CNN. I mean,
Why? Who'd they pay off? I mean, my God.
Yeah, that's what it is.
All right.
I always fly CNN. Couldn't handle it, sorry.
All right, so this article goes on. You will probably try several types of holsters for concealed carry. Experiment to find which works best for you. One may not always work, but make sure you are always that you are comfortable with one you choose. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be fidgeting with it, which will tell others you are hiding something and possibly cause harm. The fewer people who know you're carrying a handgun, the better off you'll be. I mean, after all, that's the idea of concealed carry. Is it's supposed to be concealed?
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to know. As a matter of fact, that's another thing with the media and the left. You know, oh my God, he's got a gun.
Dun, dun,
You're
dun.
not going to know I have a gun if I've got it concealed.
Right.
So don't fear. Unless you fear that everybody around you has a gun, which is in that case paranoia.
They're just fear-mongering everyone, and they think if they give out CCWs, it's going to be just this crazy rampage of people and their guns, and everyone's going to know, and just all hell's going to break loose. It's just ridiculous.
Come on, it will now. That's definitely what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. But this is definitely true as concealed carry becomes more an issue. The way you carry the firearm is definitely a big issue. I mean,
and for women, though, talking about the holsters, is that they have so many options for women to carry in their fancy clothes.
So not fair either. Oh my God. I mean, there are. Well,
Are you trying to say that guys are more finicky about their clothing and how they look than women
carry
are?
A gun in his purse.
No, I want to carry it under my bra.
Okay. I agree with that. That's
or in the crack of my butt.
Whoa.
I've seen holsters for all these different places.
So what size gun are you going to carry in your bra there, buddy?
Hey.
25?
I've gained a few pounds. I think I could get away with it.
All righty.
Gosh, Kanani's about 4 shades of red here all of a sudden. You know. We're not talking about Laura San Giamanco, but...
Holy cow. I just point out there's lots of options out there.
Yes, there's lots of options, and the options are different between men and women because our clothing is different, and the things that we carry and wear are different. Holsters, that's a very important thing. You don't want to just have it in your pocket because that's going to fall out. You don't want to just stuff it behind your belt because it's going to end up in your pants somewhere.
Or just throw it in your purse
Don't
where it's
throw
all
it in your
willy-nilly.
purse. Yeah, because then you're going to go to grab it and you're going to snatch the trigger or something crazy. So whatever it is, make sure, like it says here, experiment a little bit, try a couple things out, get a good holster. But, you know, the holster is the foundation of the concealed carry platform. So just
absolutely
food for thought.
You've got that's all part of having a concealed is being able to conceal it, knowing when and where you can pull it. I mean, there are so many different things in the carrying. Oh God, we were watching a thing on the other day on YouTube of a sheriff who shot himself in the leg. He had gone into a gun store, got his gun out and was showing it to somebody, went to put it away, and because of what he was wearing, it got caught up in the gun, and as he holstered it, it shot into his leg.
Yeah. That's just like when you get those windbreakers that have the little tights.
Toggles.
The strap toggles on them. I mean,
dangerous.
Those sit directly at your 3 and 9 o'clock, which is right where your holster is going to be, and they hang down. That will easily go into your trigger guard, press the trigger up, and discharge one straight into your upper thigh, right into the femoral.
So what you're saying is we should think through every single one of our
cut
options.
Those things off because it's going to be, it's a $100 jacket, but cutting them off is going to be a lot cheaper.
It's going to be a lifesaver later.
A lot cheaper than fixing the hole in your leg.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Keep in mind, too, just because you have a concealed carry does not mean that you can go everywhere with that firearm. And each state is going to have a different set of rules. For instance, in California...
California. Oh, my God.
We have more restrictions than normal.
Yes, we do.
Wow, we have a tie here for today's interruption contest. Unbeknownst to everybody else, we are holding a special competition to see...
No, we're not, actually. And
tiebreaker. All right, but back to where you can carry. You can't carry in post offices.
Right.
You can't carry at government...
Yeah, government, federal facilities generally are not places you want to take it, or places you are allowed to take it.
I think picketing is another one you're not supposed to go to.
Exactly.
But did you know that if you have a concealed carry in California, you can go on school grounds?
There you
No,
go.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
But it's also up to the responsibility of the person who gets it
Common sense.
to be sure that they know where they can and can't,
Right.
and then act responsibly
And
to
then
it.
other than just knowing where you can and can't go, you got to be common sense, not go to dumb places where you're going to get in a fight and have to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Very true.
Don't go to those, just again, don't go stupid places with stupid people and do stupid things.
And another
you'll
thing,
be all
too,
right.
is you're going to jump into a different type of situation of practice because now you're going to have to practice from concealment, and you may
Yeah.
be sitting in a car, you may be sitting on your couch, you may be in a business, but you need to be able to practice, of course, without discharging the firearm and doing it in a manner that is safe for everybody around you.
So you're advocating lots of training.
Lots of training. That's a good thing.
Come see us at Tactical Guns and Gear. We'll be your source for that special training.
And as always, have a nice day. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We will be back, same bat time, same bat place next weekend, and you'll have more on the firing line.
That's right. Oh, and don't forget, Memorial Weekend, go to Tactical Guns and Gear on Monday. They're going to be giving out sandwiches. They're going to have all kinds of military vehicles and everything else. So